Mr. Clerk, I'll entertain a motion to close the executive session.
I'll make a motion to close the executive session.
The properly moved to second. Any discussion? Excuse me down here. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Okay. That passes. I want to thank everybody for coming to the regular session of the City of South Fulton Council meeting. And at this time, we'll have a call the roll by clerk.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, by that vote to close the executive session, we've also adjourned your work session from earlier today at 5, and during the executive session, there was no action taken.
Right.
Now for the roll on your 7 o'clock meeting, Mayor William Bill Evans.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Mark Baker. Councilmember Catherine Rao. Present. Councilmember Carmelita Gunn.
Present.
Councilmember Helen Z. Willis.
Here.
Councilmember Naima Gilliard.
Here.
Councilmember Rosie Jackson.
Here.
And Councilmember Khalid. Present. Mr. Mayor, you have a quorum.
Okay, we'll have an invocation by the chaplain followed by pledge of allegiance.
Let us stand. Let us pray. Dear gracious God, we're overwhelmed with our presence together. The oneness, the unity, the blessings that you have bestowed upon us. We recognize them right now. We thank you. We ask your grace and your power, your love, and most of all your wisdom to fall again in this place. Do what you always do. Turn it out exactly where you want it to be. So let it fall upon our mayor, our city council, all of us, O God. For we ever give you the praise. Let us all say amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated.
Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, you have only 2 items for today's consent agenda, the meeting minutes from the May 8th meeting, and just so you know, the minutes for the June 5th meeting that we had last week will show up on your June 26th meeting. Also, a proclamation sponsored by Councilmember Willis.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda, the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
The properly moved to second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? That passes unanimously, Mr. Burke.
Okay, the next item is approval of the regular meeting agenda, and I believe the city manager has an item he'd like to present.
Yes, earlier today we forwarded you the information on the Georgia Power franchise agreement, and it is also, I think, included as an add-on. The reason, and listen, definitely hate adding on agenda items, but this one is fairly important because as we mentioned last week, it allows us to capture our franchise fees in FY18 without having to wait to FY19. So we just humbly ask that you allow us to add this to the agenda. It would be an approval item under the city manager's report where we will add just additional briefing beyond the information we provided today and you can add on that.
How much money are we talking about?
So still do not know that yet, but I think we're talking about 20,000 taxable addresses. And so it should be a substantial impact on our budget this year.
I think that qualifies in the area of an emergency. So, there's any, do I make a motion to add?
I make a motion to amend the agenda to include this item. For Georgia Power franchise agreement.
Second.
The properly moved to second. Any discussion? Okay, Mr. Willis.
Is that to
Oh, I'm sorry.
adopt the agenda as well with the amendment or just the amendment?
To adopt the agenda with the amendment.
Right. To adopt the agenda with the amendment. Ms. Williams is not responding, so I'll just go ahead and ask for the vote. All those in favor? That passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Okay, the next item is a proclamation sponsored by Mayor Edwards. This is a proclamation recognizing Tommie Lawrence, Trey Robbins II Appreciation Day.
Well, we're not going to give you all 50 proclamations today. We're going to give you one. But I thought this one was very important when I heard the story. That is something that we all need to know and our children need to be influenced by. So I'm going to read the resolution that tells the story. Whereas Tommie Lawrence Robbins III, Trey, was born on June 23rd, 2000, in the loving arms of Kimberly and Tommie Robbins II. Trey is definitely a miracle child. Having been born at 28 weeks gestation, weighing 3.4 pounds, with 2 holes in his heart. Coupled with, y'all have to explain that word. Which call it? You want to explain it? You want to pronounce it?
Which word? Microcephaly?
Yeah, microcephaly. And I went to day school, don't do good at that. Whereas children born with this condition have intellectual disabilities, poor motor functions, poor speech, abnormal facial features, seizures, dwarfism, and scoliosis. Whereas Trey has undergone 19 surgeries during his 17 years of life, which included surgery on his heart at 3 weeks old, open heart surgery at 9, 2 eye muscle surgeries, and 6 months surgery on his spine from age 10 until 17. We, the family and friends, are so grateful to God that has allowed Trey to overcome these challenges by being amazingly resilient. By the grace of God, Trey has defied all odds, graduating with honors from Langston Hughes High School. On May 20th, 2018, he will intern this fall at Georgia State University in the LIFE program and has future aspirations of becoming a video game designer. Not being one to use the words I can, Trey is currently preparing to take the driver's license exam. Now therefore be resolved that the Mayor and City Council recognizes Trey for his resilience, his determination to defy all odds, and for his strength of character, and do hereby proclaim Tuesday, June 12, 2018, as Tommie Lawrence Trey Robbins III Appreciation Day in the city of South Fulton. You know, so many kids always know what they can't do and why they can't do it. And this is a living example. Thank the God that shows you what you can do. And good parents. Because that's give you parents can do. Mom and Dad?
Well, thank you all so much. I'm Kimberly Robbins, and I'm the mom of Trey, and you know, it's like a village. It takes a village. We've had praying families, praying friends. We never gave up. You know, we knew that Trey was special, and we were going to try to continue to further him along the way and make sure that he knew that with God, all things were possible. So we're just so thankful to you all and just so blessed. And I'll let, you want to say something?
Thank you for the honor of appreciation.
Thank you, first of all, giving honor to Christ. I thank God for the miracle He's placed in our lives. And it's such a joy to be standing here before you and just witnessing, you know, God's miracle. And I wish Tommie all the best. And, it's an honor to be here in this initial year for the city of South Fulton. I'm looking forward to great things. Thank you so much.
Mr. Trey, it's your day.
Let's say, come on right here, Trey. Come on.
Here we go. On three? Okay. Here we go. On three. 1, 2, 3. One more time. 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Okay, Ms. Clerk.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, you now the public comment portion of today's meeting. Speakers will be granted up to 2 minutes each, and public comment will not exceed 30 minutes. We have received 5 speaker cards. All 5 speakers will please come down the center aisle and approach the podium in this order: Ms. Barbara McKee, Ms. Dory Williams, Ms. Linda Collins, Mr. Jarman Bryant, and Gail Hutchins. Mr. McGee.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council, city citizens of College, City of College Park. I'm sorry, City of South Fulton. I do so much in the City of College Park and all over. My name is Barbara McKee, and I reside in the Heritage Park community in Calais District. And I'm here tonight to just say I'm going to have a great summer and hope the City of South Fulton have one too. Tonight, I put before you a letter from the Secretary of State. As you know, Mayor and Council, I've been doing work here since 2004 in Fulton County. So tonight, I'm actually introducing the Bobby Christina Serenity House. Doreen is going to tell you about what we need and what she would like to bring to South Fulton. As you know, City Manager, I know you haven't been here that long, we do not have a domestic violence shelter in this area. This week, I've housed 10 persons within domestic violence. So we are wanting support. LIFT will be supporting this initiative, and I do believe that you all will support it. We will need volunteers from the city, council, volunteers from the community. We will need everything. We will need you to come out and talk, City Manager. We will need you, Mayor. We will need you, Khalid. I am calling for your support for this. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Doreen, and she will tell you about the Bobby Christina Serenity House.
She has a card. She's speaking the rest of her time. She has a card. Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and the City of South Fulton council members. My name is Dory Williams. I am the Executive Director of the Bobby Christina Serenity House. a nonprofit started by Bobby Brown, entertainer, and his family in honor of his daughter, Bobby Christina Brown. Our initiative and mission is to start we have actually started a domestic violence nonprofit to help those who are voiceless as a result of the pain and suffering that Mr. Brown went through with his daughter, Bobby Christina Brown. I am looking for your support. Along with, as Ms. Barbara said, we are looking to have brick and mortar in the city of South Fulton. We're trying to hold some keys to have a domestic violence shelter for these women and children, and also boys, because most domestic shelters don't support the men and the boys. We're looking to be different. And we want some brick and mortar to help house these people transition from unsafe environments into safe environments. We want the victims to go from victims to being survivors. And I really need your support. I am also asking for a proclamation in honor of Bobby Christina and these domestic violence victims and survivors on her death date, which was July 26th. I have asked the Brown family if you honor that date for us, if they could come down here and attend, and they are willing. The date that they are available is July 30th. So I'm hoping that you will support us and give us that honor, that proclamation. And I'm just trying to create a presence, not just in the city of South Fulton, but in Atlanta and Georgia overall. Initially, we said that we wanted to start in LA, Atlanta, and Boston, but because Bobby Christina Brown, resided in the Georgia area, I want to start where home was. That's important to us. So again, I'm looking for your support. I'm asking for your support. There's a lot of victims out there that they cry and they have nobody, and we're looking to help those victims. Thank you.
Okay, the last three speakers are Ms. Glenda Collins, Mr. Jarvis Bryant, and Dale Hutchins. If you would please approach the center aisle. Ms. Collins.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. I attended the Parks and Recreation meeting a few days ago, and I was very pleased with the outcome of it because in the process there are many programs to help the children and the families. So this is something that will help keep the children busy during the summer. Also, I would like to say that there are other cities that are voting on moratoriums. And these moratoriums are necessary to be more selective in the businesses and the quality of the businesses that come to our area. Another problem that I wanted to address is disaster. When you have a mortgage, it is required that you have mortgage insurance. Then if you rent, then you should consider renter's insurance. This is something that needs to be addressed in our area because the programs, the opportunities exist, and mortgage insurance in most cases is very affordable. So if we could just convey this to the people in the community, that mortgage insurance will help out in a disaster, it would help us all. Thank you.
Good evening, Jeremy Bryant, 5th District. I'm here to vote, well, can't vote, but I'm in favor of the moratorium. And this is, and it's needed in the 5th, because I understand it's for the 5th. And 5th District been on this track for years, even before there was the city of South Fulton. I've been fighting, and many others been fighting in Union City, City Hall, against the type of property that comes into that affects the city of South Fulton. Then I had to come here, and I've spoken this before, I have to come here and have the same fight as if I'm like this is Union City. That's for anyone that's against having a moratorium. And because I've seen close votes on things that affect my part of the city, although I'm part of the whole city, I wonder why is it that all districts vote has to be even for one district when it doesn't affect another district? Out of respect, you could say, well, if that's your district, how you want us to vote? I think that's more in tune, in harmony with what we talk about when we have the preacher say the prayer. And to be fair, only one person ran for across the whole city that affects all districts, and that's the mayor. So I don't understand. I could put that into play or idea that maybe maybe you should respect the one district if it doesn't affect yours and just go for it on their vote. I sure want to vote, but I want a moratorium. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Council, I'm not here to try to get a vote, but I did receive an email from Councilman Willis, and one of the issues that I'm the pastor at Union Christian Church right across the street from where the young man was shot on Sunday night. And so we've been trying to deal with this situation because this party house has been going on for quite some time where he's renting the house out for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And right now he has heavy equipment over there. My guess is he's trying to clean off so that he can have a parking lot. Right now he is parking cars down at the gun range and then moving them, shuttling them back and forth. And we just need to figure out how to get this shut down. I was just in the office on Friday, spoke with someone in permits, spoke with someone in code enforcement, and also spoke with somebody from the engineer's office. And we just really would like to see this shut down because it's becoming somewhat of a problem. We picked up bags of trash from the church, from liquor bottles, beer bottles, on the church steps, all over the place. And I'm tired. I'm tired. So I just want to get some help.
Is that last week? Yes, sir. Before we go into Mr. Donald, I would like, once again, to charge, because I know you got a lot to do, and I'm charging you every night. But this issue with party houses is getting ridiculous. I know for a fact, this is the second one. And we need to get with the attorney, and we need to come up with some type of legislation, because if you're charging to come in, you're talking about building parking lot, that's no longer a residence, all right? And so I would like to see us, if we can, you all get together and bring some type of draft resolution or ordinance to us that we can put some teeth in and stop these things.
Mayor, I think Councilmember Gumbs is actually working on some legislation with us right now on that. But I think you'll see in my city manager's report, some of it also has to do with just, some public education as well as assisting our officers in enforcing some of the ordinances that are already in place. And so I think our chief has been tasked with some of those things, and she's working on that. But again, we'll touch on it during we cannot talk about that incident, but we'll talk about some of the things that we're doing for public safety in the city manager's report.
Well, I'm glad to know that Councilwoman engaged in that, because I've had the personal experience at 12 o'clock at night of going and getting phone calls and getting in my car, going to one of these party houses on Wallace Road. And it's ridiculous, so I'm glad. Ms. Willis, before we go on real fast.
So is this a resolution or ordinance? We need an ordinance, not a resolution.
It's an ordinance, she says no. Okay?
Can I comment too?
Yes, go ahead.
Councilwoman Brown has Councilwoman Brown has a really nice nuisance ordinance that is coming up that I can tailor to address the concerns that you have just
articulated. Excuse me, but I just thought about something. What about the nuisance we had that we passed? Willis and I? No, it was a residence.
Is it part of the registration? Right. Is that
No.
It was a nuisance.
No, we passed a residential nuisance.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, we passed a resolution, Willis and I, that was a residential, I think it was residential disturbance.
We do like 1 or 2 calls a year.
Yeah, 1 or 2 calls a year, and then we kind of shut you down. But go back and look at it. Go back and look at it and see how maybe we can reinforce that or whatever the case may be, but not to take anything from his gums.
But that's another reason why it's important for us to see all of the legislation that has been passed, because a lot of stuff is overlapping. A lot of stuff we're not enforcing.
Right.
So we need to see that, and it'll probably make our lives a lot easier.
You're right. Ms. Jackson, go ahead.
Exactly, because I remember, and it also had something to do with the overgrown the grass, and that's when I was asking you about, you all said you couldn't find anything.
Mhm.
That nuisance ordinance, there is one.
Yeah.
And I remember
Willis
it.
and I brought it forward.
I remember it.
It should
I
be.
told you the mayor did.
That's different.
Okay, well, just go back and find it and see how we can encompass with what Ms. Gums is doing, with what Willis and I did, and come up with something. But she makes a good point. We need to know what's going on. I didn't know she had an ordinance already pending for that, so we need to know what's going on. All right, Ms. Clerk?
The next item, or your first resolution, is on page 2, a resolution by the City of South Fulton, Georgia, establishing a moratorium on the acceptance of applications for rezoning, permits, variances, licenses, and inspections related to gas stations and City District 5, and for other lawful purposes. That's co-sponsored by Councilmember Jackson and Councilmember Gums under Resolution 2018-036.
Ms. Gums or Ms. Jackson, go ahead.
I think that the council, we need to make clarity because District 5, we wanted a moratorium, period. We did not specify gas stations, we had nothing, we just want an overall moratorium. And I need that clear.
What you got is put
I
on.
have it.
Okay, you do?
So I would like to go ahead and make an amendment to approve resolution 2018-036 with the exception that we eliminate the gas station use restriction and amend the ordinance, the moratorium to cover District 2 and District 5. A moratorium at this point in time for eliminating the gas station.
Wait a minute, you know what you said, not eliminating the gas.
Yes, I said to eliminate the
It's
gas
specifying
station.
gas stations.
Because it's specified.
To strike gas
Just an
stations.
overall moratorium, period.
I think your amendment is to strike gas stations and to add.
So we're putting a moratorium on the zoning of anything in those two districts?
Exactly.
Because everybody said it.
While Madam Attorney will talk to legal points on it.
Yeah, so that is correct. That's the motion that's before the council, a moratorium pursuant to the motion that Councilwoman Dobbs just said, and that's to have a moratorium on District 2 and District 5. Ideally, you would have a moratorium on zoning classifications, just because your zoning map is not divided up by district. So you may have OI C2 that covers multiple districts. So my initial recommendation would be to have the classification by zoning districts and to make it as narrow as you sufficiently think will accomplish what your goals are for the moratorium, and to also make it temporary. But you do have the discretion to make it district specific. It's your discretion.
Okay, that's not my question. My question would be, legally, we're talking about land use. I mean, theoretically, traditionally, you would say, I want to have a moratorium on beauty salons on the old National Highway. All right, I've seen that. But I'm talking against the moratorium, I'm just saying I'm a little bit complexed about what is that we're giving a moratorium on? Can we give legally, can we give a moratorium on a zoning issue?
You can, local governments do it routinely. They give a moratorium on zoning issues with respect to permits, applications, anything that's within the zoning realm. Some cities do it broadly. They will have a moratorium on all applications for a limited period, and some cities and governments do it more specific, where they specifically limit the moratorium to some subclassification.
Well, just for me, I understand what they're trying to get to, all right? I just don't know how we gonna get there, all right? So regardless of whether it's passed or not, I would like for you to research and give me the law on that as it pertains to, not the rezoning of a particular business or an area, but how does it affect it when you're talking about property rights, okay? And then maybe I can digest this a little better, right? And so if you can get that to me, regardless of what the vote is today, I still would like to have that. Okay. Mr. Odie, what did you say?
Okay, just a couple of quick staff. So staff noted just a couple of items that might need to be clarified within the ordinance. and just some of the language adjustments that might need to be utilized. So I think initially, the initial presentation was mentioned no inspections could be coordinated in District 5. I think you have to specify what those would be, because one of the concerns would be that also cover that code enforcement inspections and our ability to issue citations. So that's one thing to be considered. Another is when you look at the proposed moratorium, which I think you guys just corrected, it identifies the use of gas stations, but is actually within the code referenced as service stations. So just making sure that you have that cleanup language. Additionally, when it said no permit activities in District 5, you also, or any district, you want to look at that as well, because the question is, does that mean, let's say if somebody's roof collapses, would the property owner not be able to re-roof their property? So there's just some items that I think language-wise we want to look at, and I apologize, we got the information and developed the FIS, but we didn't have enough time to review the actual proposed resolution, but we do have some just minor recommendations on that impact administration.
So remind me, how long is this moratorium?
We have it 9.
Councilman, I would have to defer to one of the council members.
Madam Attorney,
90 days.
is this a 90-day moratorium?
It's a 90-day.
Correct. Yes, Mayor.
Okay, so I just like to know that. I mean, if a fancy restaurant come over there and want to get a District 5 tomorrow,
They can't come.
I got it. No, it's more than you can say they can't come now.
No, we have a meeting, May
Well, there's a
29th.
state government house over there that can decide whether they can come.
Well, I would like.
So what I'm saying is, if you just get that information.
I would like to say that the goal of this moratorium is to pretty much take a step back while we're going through the rezoning or looking at our comp plan. It is not to halt up any development. It's only 90 days. As someone came to the microphone and mentioned, cities go through this all the time. The city of Brookhaven is doing it right now. They're in their council meeting doing the same thing. I know that I spoke with my residents. They are asking for us to take a step back while we go through this process, and it's for 90 days. I think it's only fair. If I've heard from other council people that do not want it in their district, they don't want to stop it, but I do ask that you support those who are looking at trying to find the best.
And I'm not really saying that it's bad. I'm just saying that when it comes to land issues, zoning, rezoning, I've never seen it done that way. So that's why I'm asking for an opinion once we do it. Okay, Ms. Willis, you were next.
I want to say I'm not being supportive. I'm not trying to not be supportive of my colleagues and their districts. But when we make decisions, we have to make decisions that's in the best interest of this overall city. When I make decisions for District 3, I'm not just making decisions for District 3 because my decisions impact, my resolutions and my ordinance impact the overall city. And so one of the things I do not want us to come across as being is not business friendly, which we are already living that way. So we have to be careful when we place moratoriums and tell developers, no, we're not open for business. I do believe we should be strategic. I do believe we need to look at making changes to our comprehensive development plan. But to place moratoriums without having the full legality behind it, I'm a little concerned about that. So my question is to the attorney. Have you fully vetted this? And do you have, I see some citations of case law. Have you looked at our charter to make sure we're not violating anything in the charter? Are you sure that we won't face any litigation behind placing these moratoriums?
So I have looked at your charter. You're free to do a moratorium. Your ability to do a moratorium is something that's granted to you pursuant to state statute and case interpretations by court decisions and case law. Now, is this going to protect you from litigation? Every single thing you do can be subject to litigation. So I can't guarantee that someone who is not satisfied with your temporary freeze on applications, I can't guarantee that they may say, well, I have the funds to try to get them to lift it, and I may use those funds to try to push the city. It happens all the time routinely across the state where you have entities who sue the city because they're not satisfied with the decisions that you make. However, I did specifically look at case law to see if anyone had challenged a zoning restriction that was district specific. And I looked at it for that purpose because I recommend that you do it by zone. So my question was, if you do it by district, has someone done that before? Has someone challenged them and successfully lifted the moratorium? And I did not see a challenge in case law. Now what happens is when you were sued for implementing the moratorium, it's a very fact-specific analysis. The court's going to look at how long was the moratorium? Why did they impose the moratorium? What community concerns were they intending to address with the moratorium? And is the moratorium that they established, was it catered narrowly and specifically to address those concerns? The court will look at that. If you're way beyond that, then the court might say, you know what, your moratorium is too broad, it's unlawful, it's not temporary enough, you don't need it sufficiently, so we're going to force you to lift it. In most instances, the courts have protected your ability to temporarily freeze a process to look at it from a large-scale picture to see if it's specific with your vision for the city's economic growth. So courts have traditionally protected your ability to do that. My recommendation, again, would just be to have it as narrow as possible, limited in scope, and have a very specific purpose for implementing the moratorium.
Okay, so it has been standard when we request for the attorney to opine on the questions that we have, that they write something formal and they cite the code and also case laws. So I'm requesting that you please put something in writing and send it to the entire council on this question about the moratoriums. Is it legal? Are we going to face it in litigation? Finally, my last question goes to the city manager. So can I get that by close of business Friday? Can we get that by close of business Friday from you, Attorney Walker?
Absolutely, that's no problem.
Okay, thank you. To the city manager, can you please weigh in on this? I know you have a subject matter, you're a subject matter expert when it comes to economic development. How do you think this will impact us?
So I don't foresee a negative impact. I think there are pros and cons to any type of legislation. What I would say with this one is, the pro is that for our staff, we'll have additional time to look at the comprehensive plan. The district-specific nature of it, I just have not seen it before. But the moratorium as a whole does provide us some time to be able to work on a comprehensive plan and coordinate a variety of activities in support of this. And I think what business is looking for is a clear picture of what residents want so that they can invest. And so I would never be against you guys providing them a clear vision. Again, it's just the district-specific area is just new from what I've seen. I do want to make sure, though, that we harp on those unintended consequences if you decide to pass the proposed ordinance or resolution, is just to consider those, because I don't think you're trying to halt code enforcement inspections, or you're not trying to, I think one of them was listed occupational tax permits versus certificates, which impact business licenses. So, there's some minor cleanup that I think the council should consider to make sure that if you do decide to go this way, you don't hamper administrative activities.
Okay. Next is, please.
I hope, first I want to start off with a statement. I hope that what is clear to all the developers that are watching, and I speak as, I think I have the largest commercial corridor. It's not that we're not open for business, but we will be raising our standards. And we expect anyone that wants to do business with our city to do that. I would be amenable to supporting this resolution if we could narrow it specifically, and these are just suggestions for us to consider now. A couple of things. One, the moratorium could read up to 90 days. I believe that we are planning meetings with our development director around a comprehensive plan. So I think the sooner that we have those edits completed, the sooner we could probably end this moratorium. Secondly, I think if we just targeted new applications and variance applications for C1, C2, and OI, I think that might, so for the commercial and the office industrial, so if we just had it a bit more targeted, I think that you could get support from several people. And I would even be willing to add my district to that, provided that it's up to 90 days and that we'd be ending the moratorium as soon as we got our comp plan edited. Because I think one of the things that we're going to, I will be candid to say, one of the things that I am looking at in our comp plan is changing what those, right now I think there's maybe like 20 different classifications, R1, R2, C1, C2, there are all of these different things. And so, for example, in the C2 designation, which is a live, work, play designation, that also includes a gas station. So I'm not sure that a gas station or a service station, when I think live, work, play, like that's not what I'm thinking. But I think that we just need to review those, get a little bit more education on those, and that we could probably lift this moratorium as soon as we made those edits to our comp plan.
Okay, very good.
Yes.
Okay.
And I will just ask, since we're asking questions of our city manager, we will be able to have those meetings this month.
They're actually a part of the city manager's report as well.
Perfect.
We'll address it.
Ms. Gilliard.
On May the 1st, I asked for a moratorium for the entire city. It was for 90 days. It was followed by a second 90-day moratorium. And during all of this time, I'd asked for all different types of tweaks and revisions of the comp plan. Yes. And it never happened. And so I support this ordinance. And one of the main reasons why I support this ordinance, not that I don't think that 2, has a lot of problems, but I do know that 5 does, because I've sat back over the years and have seen what has happened in District 5. And so I can sort of feel their pain, And so I really support it, and I really support up to 90 days so that we can hurry up and finally get these revisions in. It might take some districts longer to get theirs than others. I support it, and I want to be added to it if it's up to 90 days.
All right. Ms. Jackson, this is your final.
Councilwoman Gilliard, I appreciate that. When you came in talking, I think I was right behind you, and we had a meeting at my home in reference to the comprehensive plan, because as far as zoning, a lot of things I don't know that much about it. And I brought individuals in to try to show me and help me with this process. And when we came in, I came in talking about tweaking the comp plan. We were promised that something would get done. Nothing has happened yet. If something had happened, we wouldn't be where we are right now. So what I'm asking, again, because I believe on May the 29th, we had a town hall meeting, and it was overwhelmingly, my constituents asked for a moratorium. They wanted to take some time to take a look at what is being offered, what the zoning means, and what can be put in our district right now, and what things that they want to see. So I would appreciate if my colleagues would support us on this. Councilwoman Gums came, I didn't know she was looking for one until after that fact. But this is something that we need in District 5, and I would hope that I can get the support of my colleagues.
Okay, finally, before I ask for a motion, I just want to make it clear what my comments was. It was only about the issue of rezoning, because in your explanation, you didn't say that. And it's only about, can we do this when it involves a rezoning action? Okay? Other than that, I'm fine.
Okay.
But I need to be clear on that, whether this passes or not.
Okay.
Okay? I'll entertain a motion.
Can I help you phrase that motion collectively from what you just
I'm not making a
articulated?
motion.
Well, no, I had some additional questions.
You can go ahead and put you on the clock.
So I heard a few things up here. I heard Councilwoman Gilliard is willing to, join us on this resolution, so that's one thing. But I also heard that Councilman Khalid, you had some things where C1, C2, did you get all of that? And OI?
Yeah, I believe he said OI, C1, and C2.
What is he saying?
And M1. So is that something that we will be covering in our process of this moratorium?
You will cover with a blanket moratorium, but you could also, going in the direction that Councilman Khalid was going, and my recommendation is always going to be to make it as narrow as we can, so that if there are things that are not affecting us, we can still allow that development to occur. My recommendation could be, from what was said, to have the moratorium limited to districts 6, 4, 6.
Excuse me. You have the floor.
Sorry. So with the support of the rest of the council now, are you saying that this will be a citywide and not just, okay. So it's still going to be district specific for 2 and 5?
Well, I think only those districts have, 2 and 5, but limited to rezoning various applications.
It's going to be 2, 5, 4, 6.
Is that what you all said?
Excuse me, are you even interested in the floor?
2, 5, and 4.
2, 5, and 4.
That's where the districts are being for the moratorium.
The moratorium for 2, 5, and 4, and it will cover all rezoning and variance applications.
And the moratorium will be up to 90 days.
2, 5, and 4. Zoning, you got the mark zoning and variance applications up to 90 days. Now, and if you get done before 90 days, I highly recommend to stop it as soon as you're done. So if you're done, I would, even if you didn't propose, I would say, let's stop the moratorium.
Y'all ready to finish? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Who, I gotta say, yes, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to impose a zoning moratorium on districts 2, 4, and 5 for the C1, C2.
You don't want to just across the
Blanket.
for rezoning applications and for rezoning and variance applications.
For rezoning and various applications for up to 90 days.
Correct.
Second.
Been properly moved to second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? That passes unanimously. Next.
Thank you.
The next item is a resolution to amend the contract for the city public defender and authorizing the city manager to execute the amended contract and for other lawful purposes. Resolution 2018-037.
Hey, Mr. Massey, you have
Is that you? Come on, Judge.
I was looking for the click card. Pardon me. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I apologize in advance. What I did was I put together one big presentation for everything. We'll take it in steps as each resolution and or ordinance is presented. My goal today, first of all, we're just coming off of a 300 defendant calendar today. My team has worked since 5:30 this morning, and they're still at the city right now working. And so it's against that backdrop that I think it's important that we take a look at what we're compensating people for the amount of work and effort that they're putting into ensuring that our justice system is where it needs to be. So, okay, we'll keep on going. So these are just a couple of common facts. I'm sorry, it's a gnat that's just that's flying around. I apologize. I'm swatting at it. The City of South Fulton Municipal Court holds 11 weekly court sessions, 6 first appearance hearings. We hold those Monday through Saturday, 5 additional calendars, including 2 plea and arraignment calendars, 1 motions probation status calendar, 1 FTA calendar, and 1 bench trial calendar. The motions probation status calendar, depending on the week, may also be an environmental calendar. It totals 572 annual court sessions. The judge and the solicitor, the judge and the city solicitor are required to be present at each court session or secure appropriate replacements. I will tell you that the city solicitor this morning, because of the size of our calendar, she brought in additional help at her expense. And so we need to look at some of the things that are going on. The city public defender is required to be present at 548 annual court sessions because the city public defender is not needed during the environmental calendar. I will tell you there's a couple of things that we do a little differently here in the city of South Fulton that I just think are good in terms of our criminal justice system. The law does not require that a person is provided a public defender at first appearance hearings. I think that we can do it better, and I think that it should be done better. That's just a personal thing for me, that if you're incarcerated and you're trying to determine whether or not bond is appropriate, that you're provided with legal counsel. The law doesn't require that, but I think in a city, as the city of South Fulton, wanting to be a progressive city, that's something that we need to do. So it's something that I've implemented from the very beginning. So our city public defender is present at all of those first appearance sessions. And calendars can last up to 5 hours. Today was an exception because I think the mayor was there this morning. We started at 9:30 on the dot, and we literally finished at 6:30. So that, we'll talk about the city public defender. So the city public defender is Ms. Vivica Bamber-Powell. She represents indigent defendants during plea and arraignments, FTA bench trial calendars, when she has to find or compensate suitable replacements. The same thing, she represents defendants during first appearance hearings when bond is determined. Her current compensation is $55,000 annually, which is $100.36 per session, regardless of the length of the session. The proposed compensation is $82,200 annually, which will take her up to $150 per session. So I know that the FIS, Mr. Donald's team did an excellent job preparing the FIS. The FIS talks in terms of percentages. When we initially proposed this, we were not talking about it in terms of percentages, but rather in the per session costs. Given that the city public defender, the city solicitor, and the judge are all contract employee or contractors, that they should be paid by the sessions. And so when we break this down, it's $150 per session. There are adequate funds in the budget to cover this request. The next slide is, this is, I took the excerpt out of the state's compensation pay plan for, this is district attorneys, the public defenders are similar. The public defenders are similar. I apologize that I copied the wrong schedule, but the public defenders are similar. Okay, so Ms. Bamber-Powell has been a public defender for over 20 years. Someone with her level of experience would certainly be making $100,000 as she stayed in Fulton County or worked for another state agency. And so taking her up to $82,000 is not unreasonable given the landscape of what we do here in the city of South Fulton and the size of our jurisdiction and the amount that she works. And so with that, I respectfully request that we amend her contract to allow, to increase her salary to $82,200. I also want to note, I didn't put this in my presentation, but right now there's some compression issues in my department where Ms. Powell, who is an attorney, actually makes less than some of my staff that have no law degrees. And so we need to adjust that and fix that, and this will adjust that and fix that.
Okay, Mr. City Manager, let me make sure I understand. We're asking for execution of a contract, right?
Yes.
So
resolution first, though, right?
That's what I'm saying, that's what I'm about to get to. You're asking for execution because the heart of what's going to give us the meat to exercise to execute the contract is going to be in the first reading of the ordinance.
No, sir. The ordinance addresses just judge compensation because the charter specifically says that judicial compensation must be set by ordinance. That's language in the charter.
Okay, I'm clear then. I'm
Yes, sir.
clear. And so we'll talk. The league, we'll talk it out. Okay, Ms. Jackson, go ahead. I'm right, Jackson.
Yes. Pardon me, 1 second.
I'm asking a clarifying question. As it relates to
Excuse me.
the two resolutions.
Excuse me. She's proposing.
I'm sorry.
Question.
I'm just trying to clarify.
Sorry about
City Manager.
All right.
Hold on. I apologize, Councilwoman Brown.
No, so I just want to understand, for both the public defender and the solicitor's contract, will this compensation only go to that one person, or is it to provide additional support if they need it?
So the way that they're hired, Ms. Powell is our city public defender. When because it's a contract, according to the language in her contract, when she cannot be present, she has to secure and compensate her replacement. In other words, we're still going to hold the sessions. And so if she chooses to go on vacation for a week, because she's an independent contractor, she can do that, she has to secure and compensate her replacement so that we don't stop court, we don't not have sessions, we don't not have representation at first appearances and things of that nature.
Okay, with that being said, I think in those particular resolutions, 2018-38 as well as 2018-07, the section 1 duties, the last sentence should be amended to say, under this agreement to find and compensate suitable replacements. Because the way it reads currently, it limits it to, it makes it sound like it's only one person. Is that acceptable? Right, but that language was not in the agreements, and I'm trying to make sure we can move
Yeah, we can, I mean, I think that's fine, Madam City Attorney.
You can amend the agreements at your discretion.
But in other words,
I wanted to clarify that wasn't, yeah, okay.
Yes, that is the intent.
Okay.
The intent is not, the only additional public defender that we provide is a conflict defender. And that's in the case that there are two people with co-defendants. Obviously, she can't represent both and carry out her ethical duties, so there has to be another person. And so in that respect, that is the only caveat to her providing replacement for her when she's out of town, unavailable. And I will say that she's done that too.
So I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution 2017-37 and 2018. We can have discussion after the motion. 2017-037 and 2018-037 and 2018-038 with amendment to section 1 to add to the end of the last section sentence in section 1 to find and compensate suitable replacements.
There's a second? Second. Properly moved and second. Discussion. Ms. Jackson. Mr. Khalid, then Ms. Jackson.
So it sounds like there's more work than even, I mean, you knew there would be a lot of work, but there's even more than you thought.
I think that that's true.
Yes. Welcome to South Fulton.
Yes.
Yeah, we have the same issue up here. I don't think that, so, and it also sounds like we only have one public defender?
Correct. I mean, so our budget really can't sustain more than one. We certainly can't think 55 times 2. At this point, we're just asking for a $25,000 increase if I'm rounding. That, for her to be able to cover all of these sessions or find replacements. Ideally, we'd probably like to have 2, but we cannot afford to right now.
And so, yeah, it sounds like we might need to have 2. It might be a good idea going forward to have 2. And so I guess I just wonder if it sounds like there's a deeper issue than the salary, and that the issue is actually with the structure. Like we might need multiple, and I agree with you. I like the idea of everyone who's arrested being able to have access to a public defender. I believe in that, so I think we probably need more than one public defender, especially if they do have to go on vacation sometime. And so I just wonder, I cannot wait. Everyone is waiting for the city manager's report. But I wonder if this is not a budget discussion, and that this is something that we need to talk about when we do our 19 budget. And if that is happening next month, then we can make a budget decision about this position this year that is congruent with the budget decisions we'll be making in 2019. So if we just need to have a second defender, then maybe we can put that in the 19 budget and then put money for 2 months of hiring that person in the 17 budget. I'm not sure, I'm not confident to vote on this now. So I guess I'm saying if you're asking me to vote on this right now, my vote would be no, because I just need a bit more understanding about where we're going with our 2019 budget.
One recommendation that I might have is it does touch on personnel, and there are considerations that are mostly personnel-related decisions, to actually move the conversation to executive session to discuss fully. Is that something that you guys would be open to? Well, you don't have the... Well, I don't know about the timing of that piece, but I think some of the questions that you're asking impact personnel and future decisions respectfully. So I don't know about the timing of the process, and I know that the judge wants to move on this fairly quickly because they have these heavy calendars, but I do think that an extended conversation in executive session.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry, may I ask?
Go ahead.
I just want to make sure that everybody understands, you certainly are within your right to do whatever you want to do with the compensation, but you have people who are working 6 days a week, and there's without proper compensation. And I understand what you're saying. I will tell you, if you want me to budget for multiple public defenders, I think that's a discussion that Mr. City Manager, Mr. Malazi, and I have to have. Because I think that there are some additional considerations in there that I'd rather not maybe speak about in kind of this open setting. So I think that there are some additional considerations. I don't think, though, that there is a problem with having the one public defender and having her have the responsibility of finding suitable replacements. Right. Because the top people in your department I'm a contractor. Other additional judges are going to be contractors and part-time. And now you have us trying to hire and all of these things, these additional public defenders. I just think that it's clean to say, you're the public defender. If you're not going to be there, who are you going to send? And who are you going to pay? Because see, we don't have to pay that person. And so it's who you're going to send, and who you're going to pay, and then we stay out of that discussion in its totality. So if Miss Powell, has someone who she's willing to pay because she knows him from her 20 years of experience, she's willing to pay whatever. I don't even get involved in that discussion. And so I think that you insert the city in discussions that I know I'm not certain the city manager wants to be involved in.
Okay.
I'm not certain I'd like to be involved.
Okay, let's move on. Ms. Jackson was next, and I get Ms. Willis.
Okay, and I'm gonna let Ms. Willis take it, but she just kind of cleared up something that we had discussed, because we were told that it would be multiple
conflict defender. That's what she was.
Yes, a conflict. Yes. So we're talking about two different things. The city public defender is our primary public defender. Mm-hmm. In the event that there is an ethical conflict, in other words, we have two defendants in the same case that are co-defendants, she cannot represent both. And so we have to hire a conflict defender. That person is separate and apart from anything you know,
Understand.
okay, I'm
Is
sorry.
she paying for that person?
She does not pay for the conflict defender. The city pays for the conflict defender because the city guarantees everyone the right to an attorney. And so she's there. This person is in addition to, just for purposes of the conflict. For example, I think we had a case today. We had a case today where there were 2 defendants. Okay, so there was a conflict defender who we brought in, whose number comes in well within the discretion, so I don't have to bid it or whatever. And he came in, he did that one case, and he left. And that's what, you know, that's the purpose. The purpose is so that now she's not in any sort of ethical conflict.
So what budget are they paid under?
They're paid under professional services.
Okay.
It's the same budget. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Councilwoman Jackson.
All right, I think Ms. Willis was next.
Yes, so the current contract fee for the public defender is $55K.
Correct.
And the proposed fee is $82K. And so are we increasing 49%, which is a change of $27K, so that it will accommodate the caseload, and if any other public defenders are brought in, they will be paid out that contract fee of $82K?
Yes.
Okay.
So what this is it's not, Ms. Powell can bring in as many people as she wants. If she, you know, she gets the calendar, I think, on Fridays. And so if she needs 10 public defenders, she can bring in 10 people. She just has to pay them. But we need to provide her with the resources to pay them. You know, we don't need to make that cost prohibitive for her bringing in additional help to help us move our calendars along because her compensation is so tight.
For the previous question.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Probably moved to second and call for the previous question in discussion. All those in favor?
This is the move to vote.
Yeah, move to vote. Okay, that passes. We can go on to the motion to be, now we're
No, we
voting.
got
This is a
that.
resolution.
Excuse me. Let y'all have it. Where we at now is voting on the main motion. Was the main motion made? What was the main motion?
We have a motion made by Councilmember Rao, seconded by Councilmember Willis, to approve both resolutions, Resolution 2018-037 and Resolution 2018-038, with amendments to Section 1 at the end to add to find and locate suitable replacement.
To find
Is that
and
it?
compensate.
Correct.
Find and compensate? Okay, thank you.
Okay, that was the original motion. Any discussion? Hearing none, let's vote on the main motion. That passes.
So not voting is,
Huh?
Khalid
Without voting, McGumpton didn't read that.
Khalid.
Khalid, I don't know, what did you vote or you abstain? You vote, you abstain?
No, I voted no.
Or you vote, you abstain? You gotta tell why you abstain.
Because I still don't understand.
Okay, that's a good reason. I think that's it, so you had two. One vote, one's abstain. Okay, Mr. Clerk?
okay, your next item under letter B is an ordinance for first reading, ordinance 2018-025, an ordinance establishing the compensation structure for the chief judge of the municipal court, the compensation structure for additional judges for the municipal court, and for other lawful purposes.
Okay, so,
So we
No,
skipping
go ahead.
the other resolution?
No, we
No,
passed both of
we
them.
passed
At the
both
same
of them.
time, that's
Yes.
what I just was
Oh,
telling.
I
Yeah,
didn't.
yes, we passed both, that was the motion.
so the judicial compensation ordinance, per the city charter, the chief judge presides over the municipal court, and therefore the chief judge in the city of South Fulton serves as both the administrative head of the judicial branch, as well as preside over court calendars. I will note, I've done my research. There is no other jurisdiction in the entire state that does it kind of like we do, okay? Most jurisdictions either have a full-time chief judge and part-time judges, or multiple full-time judges and a chief judge. Their bigger cities will have multiple judges, one chief judge, and then even some part-time judges. I know that's how Atlanta does it, that's how Savannah does it. Cities such as Sandy Springs have 5 part-time judges, but the departmental head or the head of the department is not the chief judge. It actually falls under, I think, the finance department or some other, the police. So there's no city that kind of does it like we do. So we're kind of this hybrid, okay? Not only are we the 5th largest jurisdiction in the state, but we don't have a full-time chief judge, and we have a part-time contracted chief judge that serves in the department. So all of that is different, okay? Okay, so there's a variety of ways in which there are judges in municipal court, okay, in the state. You have a certain sect of judges, and I think East Point, for example, is one, that have a full-time chief judge, okay? And then they have part-time judges that fill in when the chief judge is sick, on vacation, out, whatever. But the primary person is the chief judge, who is a full-time salaried employee of the city. Okay? They do it like that in most of the bigger cities. So Atlanta, Savannah, even some of your smaller cities like East Point, for example. That's how they do it. Then there's this other school of thought where you have a full-time, you have a part-time chief judge, but that part-time chief judge does not serve as the department head. So that the municipal court in those cities falls under either the police department or under the finance department or under there's some that fall under assistant city managers. And so their organizational structure is different than how we set the city of South Fulton up, okay? And so there's not very much to compare us to because it doesn't exist in the other place, okay? So what I'm doing, or what I've proposed is an ordinance that will fairly compensate all of the judges in the city of South Fulton. Not just me. I want to make that clear. This ordinance is not just Tiffany Carter Sellers' compensation. This ordinance is the compensation for all of the judges throughout the city of South Fulton. If we hire 4 or 5 or however many we need to hire to get it done, this is to compensate everybody. Okay? So my recommendation, my present recommendation, based on what I'm seeing in terms of our calendars, is that you have 1 chief judge and then 2 to 3 pro temp judges. And those are judges who would we would have a schedule and they would be on that schedule. Okay?
Okay. Ms. Jackson?
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want me to finish, Ms. Jackson, Councilman Jackson, or do you want me to answer the question?
I think you said a lot.
I wasn't done.
No, what I wanted to hear, and I think I heard you, it was because I'm holding him to the cross. What you said, that the one salary was going to compensate for the additional.
Yes, Councilwoman Jackson, I apologize. This is an ordinance. I did not present a contract. There's no resolution for my compensation because I just believe in doing things kind of in order as Mr. Donald does. And so what I propose is that we have an ordinance that talks about this is how we compensate people, okay? And then I will come back to you and say this is what I'm proposed for me. This is how many sessions I propose to cover because that's what we're going to do. That's what my proposal is that we cover things by session and not by hour because sessions can take lots of hours. And I don't think that we really understand that. So I'm trying to walk us through how I'm getting to kind of the end, okay? I know it's relatively complicated, and I'm sorry if you don't understand, please stop me, okay? So what I've done here is on this presentation, I took a look at the Georgia Department of Community Services, Community Affairs. I will tell you that judge compensation is very difficult to find in ordinances. Maybe that's purposeful, Mr. Massey. But so on the Department of Community Service, the Department of Community Affairs, these are the 2 jurisdictions that actually post what their judges make. So a lot of people don't post it. So you see in Savannah, it ranges between 143 and 222,000. Now, that is obviously a much larger jurisdiction. They have lots more. I'm not proposing that we pay that. I'm just setting the backdrop, okay? East Point, which is only 35,000 residents, so we're significantly larger, they compensate their judge. I think the starting salary is 100, the max is 157, okay? In the city of Atlanta, they do theirs completely different. I think that they had, I think it may have been the state legislature, Representative Bazemore, that got involved because they actually have an amendment to their charter that talks about compensation, and they're compensated 90% of what the Superior Court judges in Fulton County make. So that's why I'm telling you, it's all over the place. So there is no, this is how we do it. This is just my proposal based on what I've seen in the last 9 months being the chief judge in terms of good governance. So my recommendation is kind of what we do, kind of what they do in Fayetteville. Now Fayetteville is a little different because Fayetteville, even though they pay their chief judge a retainer, he is not the administrative department head for their city. But he's paid a retainer because he needs to be available to execute warrants. So there's other things that I do outside of just preside over cases. So, I execute warrants, we do these other things that judges have to do. And so he's paid a retainer for that, and then he's paid a per session fee for every session that he presides over. That fee is $350. In the city of Sandy Springs, the chief judge has no administrative responsibilities, but they're paid all the judges are paid between $300 and $350 per session, regardless of the session. Okay? So what is the proposal for the city of South Fulton? So in the city of South Fulton, I propose that the chief judge have a monthly retainer of $4,000, and that's because the chief judge in the city of South Fulton serves as that administrative department head, i.e. we're at council meeting, we're doing the things that we have to do in terms of running the department. I'm supervising over personnel, finance, things of that nature. First appearance sessions, and this is across the board, regardless of what judge covers it. First appearance sessions will be $250 a session. That's typically because those sessions are smaller. And I think I may have made an error, I apologize. All of the court sessions, I think I had at 400, not 450. So please note that as a correction on my PowerPoint. I think it should be 400. And that's because our sessions are significantly long. And so that's my proposal.
I have Ms. Jackson. Okay, we're going Mr. Khalid. Go ahead.
Thank you for that. Again, I just think we need a little time to digest it, and I wish we had this like at a work session or something. But it sounds like there's a problem of design and structure more than salary. I think a city of our size does need a full-time judge. And I'm so glad, and we've also been out of order in not acknowledging State Representative Deborah Bazemore, who is here. So just want to make sure you all know our state rep is here, who also happens to be the chair of our state delegation still. And so as you are here, I just think that that's something that we probably need to collaborate on, because I know that's a charter change.
It is, and I will tell you, can I explain the reason why I'm presenting it now? Because right now I can't take a day off. I'm literally working 6 days a week because we don't have a compensation structure for another judge. I can't even hire somebody and know what to pay them. And so at this point, we just have to get to a place where, one person isn't working 6 days a week. You understand what I'm saying? And so I understand your concern. I'm certainly happy to talk to you, Representative Bazemore, and whoever else about the change to the charter, or I'm agreeable to that. At this point, we just need to have some things in place so that, if I got sick tomorrow, we wouldn't have to cancel all the hearings. Because right now, that's kind of where we are.
And so again, I wonder, structurally, I'm going to defer to, I don't know, someone over there. Maybe multiple people over here. Because an ordinance is sort of a permanent kind of change. And so I wonder if we could just do a motion to amend a budget line or something like that. I don't want to be making semi-permanent changes to what might just be temporary problems until we do our budget. And I want to apologize for my earlier comments. I did not mean, I'm told sometimes that I can come off as snarky. So I was not being snarky. It has been a conversation amongst council as well. And I will say this in front of the audience and in front of our state reps. I don't plan to run for this seat again, but I don't think that we make enough in these seats. And when I talk to people both in and out of in and out of the city. Mayor Ted Terry was here one night and he was like, wow, you all do a lot. And so I think for a city of this size that did not outsource everything like other cities did, we're trying to manage all these things in-house. I think that's another charter change that we think that we need to look at. So again, is this a problem that we could fix without an ordinance? Could we just fix with a motion?
So what we were just talking about, I think one thing, she has the budget, the money in the budget. It is just that there is no legal mechanism that allows her to hire additional. I think that's what we were talking about earlier. So that's what the ordinance does. I believe that you could do maybe even a temporary ordinance in the same way that you did the 30-day for, I don't remember which one we were looking at recently. I think for courts where you did okay, and so where you could allow, she already has the allocation in her budget to hire, and then you could provide her that leeway for maybe that temporary fee schedule as you analyze it together. Again, that's something that later you could address it in executive session, but give her the ability to do so now under the judge's compensation of, I think it's like $250 per a session or whatever.
Correct. So right now, thank you, Ms. Donald, for that. I don't know if you guys remember, we can go back and talk about this in more detail in executive session if you'd like, but my compensation is not based on this per session. And so that creates additional issues, Councilman Khalid, and that you run the risk of having part-time pro temp judges making more than your chief judge. Because it's not, we just have to be flat and fair, and this is just what we pay, and it's fine, just this is what we pay. And then that way everybody's kind of on the same playing field, and then even if it's only for an emergency purpose, at the end of the day, everybody's kind of on the same playing field. And if I had to hire 4 new, because one judge can't be here on Wednesday, and another judge can be here on Thursday, Ms. Cofield may kill me because there's a lot of coordination, but, I can do that. I can bring in one judge to cover Wednesday sessions, one judge to come in Thursday sessions, or whatever we need to do in the event that I'm out or, God forbid I want to take a vacation.
Okay, Ms. Gilliard.
Really are doing a good job.
Thank you.
You're working a lot of hours.
Thank you.
And I really, really, really know that you need to be compensated. But I got one little problem. In the budget is a lump sum of money. In that lump sum of money is you and I don't know who else. And we had a conversation about it. That needs to be broken out so that we can clearly see and define it as clearly as it was in the one that we just passed for the solicitor and the public defender. So that's what you're feeling, and that's what you're feeling from at least some of us. So if we could do something temporary until we can clear that up and see that clearly, and that's not for you to do, that's for the city manager to give to us so that we can be comfortable with what that breaks out to, then I think that would really, really solve a lot.
And we can certainly do that, Councilwoman Gilliard. I will tell you that additional judges were never budgeted and allotted. And so I'm not really following you, and it could be that it's 8 o'clock.
Oh, no. Let me tell you why you're not really following me.
Okay.
There's a whole bunch of money in that line, and it's got to be more than one person.
It is not more than one person, because I can't hire more than one person.
No. What I'm saying is, I'm looking at what we were given.
Okay, so I need to go back. I'll go back to that. Okay, I'm sorry.
You're saying the same thing. You're saying it's the overall judge's budget, and the ordinance allows you to hire additional judges.
Yes.
And what she is saying is all she can see is the total of 200,000 or whatever it is, and not break it down.
I understand, and I will tell you the reason. Can I be candid and tell you the reason why I purposefully didn't do that is because without understanding what you guys can change the ordinance altogether. You can say, the number is whatever, and that's certainly your pleasure. So without knowing what that number is, it's hard to fashion, this much goes to this person, this much goes to that person, because even though I suggest the number be whatever the big number is, that's just my suggestion and proposal. It's not
Let me just
law,
ask,
fact.
maybe I can answer this.
Okay.
How many judges do you think you would?
So I think I put that back in one of my previous slides. There we go. So my recommendation right now is that, no, it would be 3 to 4.
Okay.
So it would be me and then 2 to 3 pro tem judges.
Okay. Okay,
Yes.
so it would you plus 2 to 3.
Correct.
So,
Out of
so
that.
those 2 to 3, what type of hours do you think they would work? How many hours?
Okay, so it's not hours.
Estimate.
It's sessions.
Okay, sessions.
Yeah, not hours, sessions. And my initial thought is certainly they're going to work Fridays and Saturdays. That I automatically know. I can tell you that certain.
And how much do you think it would cost for Friday and Saturday?
So there's 2 sessions on those days.
Okay.
One session each, one first appearance each day, so that's $500.
Okay.
There certainly may be additional sessions, but as I stand here right now, I can guarantee you the first 2 that are going to Fridays and Saturdays, because that part. Certainly, I'm considering Mondays as well, although I'm always in the office on Mondays because Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays are our bigger calendar. What I don't want people to do is shop for judges. In other words, ask for resets on days that I'm not there, thinking that they can get a better deal with another judge. So I'm cognizant of that. And so I am, that's the reason why I think maybe this is more appropriate in executive session, because I don't want to give all my secrets out. But I'm being very cognizant and strategic about that. If they know that they're going to get me on Tuesdays, then they may not want to come on Tuesdays.
So maybe this is what we should do then. Since this is not our last item. I was thinking this was our last.
It's still a first read.
Well, if it's a first read, then I think what we need to do is have the executive session at the next meeting and then pass it. I think that we can clear all this up.
Absolutely. And I'm available, Councilman Gilliard.
And so just be ready so that you can, it would help us if you're in executive session with us when we're talking about it. What do you think? Is that okay?
Okay.
Yeah. That would be very helpful.
Okay, I got Rao and Willis and Guns.
It's just a comment. I agree with what Councilwoman Gilliard has indicated, and I think he did provide enough insight in terms of this total $271,000, including the chief judge as well as your 2 to 3 pro temp. And I just think for transparency, it just helps people understand. And I think if we address that, because what you did share in this one slide is we are unique in that most of these other cities, the chief judge does not have administrative responsibilities. So I think I'm good. I think where we just need to do is break out where that money falls between the pro temp judges and the chief judges. And I think we can probably certainly by that next session or whenever you want to meet, I can have that information for you if that would be agreed.
That would help.
Okay.
Okay,
I will do that.
Ms. Willis?
Thank you. I think you're doing an excellent job, and congratulations on your recognition.
Thank you.
On the courts, on the judicial system recognition over the past week. Question, so when you do the presentation next week in executive session, can you have a breakout of not only how many judges, but how many sessions per day?
Certainly. What I'll do is I'll put all of that together.
Not necessarily the names, but how many judges you're going to have.
Absolutely.
Okay. And the current pay that you're making right now for 27, what is that, the 85,249?
That's correct.
Okay. It's the 85K 249. That's what she's currently making. That was my question. And so you're asking.
I think that personally, I would bring in the issue of pay unless we get it.
Okay, well, this is published. You do understand this is published. Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Again, the 2018 budget for judicial, is that the budget right now?
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, now we have Mr. Good.
I kind of lost for a minute. Judge Sullivan, you're doing an excellent job, and I definitely believe that you need to be
compensated for it. My question is, how do we provide kind of immediate relief? Because you've been working for 9 months like
well,
this.
I have. Well, I think that I will tell you I got a vacation coming up. A much needed and much earned vacation coming up. But we're good right now. I'm until the 26th. And then once the 26th comes, and we have our discussion, and hopefully whatever the answer is an answer. Okay. And so that, on the 27th, we can make some additional changes.
So now, in the meantime, when stuff happens or you can't make it, you have to call somebody in?
Cancel court. There's no one, the charter does not give me the authority to unilaterally select a judge. And so I cannot call anyone in. If I've only had to do that, I think, one time, and that's because it was an accident with a fatality on 285, and I was sitting in traffic for 2.5 hours trying to get to Union City. So I've only done that once. So I just work every day.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I think we have a solution we'll be looking for at the next meeting. So I really appreciate you guys doing a fantastic job.
Thank you, Mayor.
Ms. Clerk?
Next item is a discussion regarding Coward Lake. That's given by the city manager.
Yes, Coward Lake, I'm sorry.
So I will pass the mic to our city attorney, because she's been working with Fulton County recently, but I'll just give you a broad overview so that we can discuss it and you'll know what we're looking at. So the Coward Lakes property was originally a part of Fulton County's tree credit program. And the estate is attempting to sell the tree credits for a portion of their value. There has been some, I don't know if I want to call it confusion, but some conversation recently between us and Fulton County and the Coward Lake Ventures estate related to who has the authority to allow the estate to sell tree credits. It's gone on for quite some time, and I think we have talked to the estate, the members of the estate, and we want to support their ability to trade the tree credits or sell the tree credits, but we do not currently have our own tree credit program. We are under the ordinances of Fulton County, so we could allow for the sale of the credits, but if we do it, then we are the de facto managers of the program, and we don't have all of the available information to be able to appropriately coordinate a program moving forward. And so our attorney has, well, we've all been talking to Fulton County for a little while to get some information about the tree credits in general, but there are still some legal activities that we're evaluating to figure out if we can manage the program.
What are the recommendations? What recommendation you all making today?
Well, the recommendation, I think tonight is just for informational purposes to let you know that we are hoping to come to some finality or be able to present a recommendation to you this month. I plan to meet with the county again over the next week, and we're hoping to be able to resolve this. So I think we'll have a firmer recommendation at your next meeting.
Well, I tell you, I've known young Howard a long time before he died, and he was a great philanthropist here in our part of the county. Coward Lakes was named after him, and this is very important to his widow, so I think that we can get as much as we can get to help them out. I think we should appreciate that.
I think one of the things that we're looking at is whether we can give the county the authority to coordinate this activity and then us take on the tree credit program at a later date. We definitely want to have an impact fee program, but right now our capacity is severely limited. And so if the county can coordinate this one activity in good faith on our behalf, then it would allow us the time to be able to take on the program forevermore moving forward and take advantage of those activities.
Okay. Thank you all for that information.
The next item is an agreement Avenue Insights and Analytics Agreement presented by the city manager.
This is another, although we've discussed this quite a few different times, on June 7th, we provided a memo and the attached contract for Avenue Insights that really just kind of goes over the bulk of this request. Currently, the city does not have the capacity, as we talked about, to really collect all of these fees. What we're projecting is, right now, I think we are on pace to collect about $1 million, whereas what is projected is about $1.9 million, which we are not able to collect to an additional $900,000. Well, a little about, closer to about $800,000. What we are looking to do is enter into this agreement with Avenue Insight so that they can carry this activity out on our behalf. As council requested, we looked at whether GMA could coordinate this service, and they cannot. This is not in their wheelhouse. We'll actually have a separate agreement with them to collect our insurance revenues. And so we actually need both contracts. What this will also do, I think you heard from the auditor today, this is one of their recommendations, because we did not have the ability to collect all of our revenue for these businesses and actually have a quality listing of all of those businesses. This would take care of both of those activities and satisfy their recommendation as well.
All right. I would have to say one thing. When we had a person collecting the taxes before, people were very upset because they wanted to ask why we got people from Alabama collecting our business tax. So I think that a process to communicate to the people is definitely going to be needed, because I don't want to run into them things.
Absolutely. I will say there's another, it's in your memo, but there are details about how we will collect, which will be a little different this time. Right. We can also collect directly as well, and then for those who want to coordinate online and through other methods, they would go through this company. So most of those details and those concerns, I believe, are addressed through the memorandum.
It says in the document that they will receive an amount equal to $14 per business license tax notice mail. So every time they mail a notice to someone, they're going to charge us $14, and then we have to pay them a $10,000 setup fee.
It's actually when they collect, is when they will receive that funding, and the compliance audit fee is the $10,000, meaning they would conduct the compliance audit on our behalf.
But that's not what this says. This doesn't say. This says that they will reduce, for the audit part of it, that they will receive an amount equal to $125 per hour for providing audit services. And it doesn't say anything in there about $10,000. The $10,000 is up top for the setup fee.
Yeah, so that is if we are in need, if we request it, then they would conduct the audit at the $10,000 fee.
Okay, so how much are they going to charge us? What are they going to do for us? And is this the same Alabama company?
Yes, it is. They would charge us $10,000 if we ask for the compliance fee. They are paid upon collection. So if there is no collection, they are not paid. So they are paid based on whether they collect. And it is what we consider a nominal fee based on what we collect. And so of the $900,000 that we would be short in collecting, we would actually, based on projections, receive about $800,000 of that. Yes, ma'am.
Not everybody has the starting.
What now?
Not everybody has the starting.
Okay. You didn't get it? Okay, we'll make sure you get it.
Okay, I'm done.
Go ahead.
So, of course, I have a concern if this is the same company that we used previously when we were in the SSD. I I just have a concern that this is the same company that we used before, and of course, in the audit, there were things that were being mentioned as far as collection and things of that nature, and not being able to accurately track the businesses in the city.
So from my understanding and in discussing it with the auditor as well as with our team, not having this group is what had us to where we were not able to collect. So this contract was not renewed once the transition was made, and so we did not have the capacity to collect. And so entering into this agreement actually allows us to collect, and so it's actually one of the recommendations.
So this particular organization came through as a recommendation from the county to use
No,
this
no,
firm,
no,
or
no.
how
The
you
service,
feel about classifying?
the actual service that we need is a recommendation from the audit. It's part of what they discussed today with our inability to collect. This company has provided services to the county, and their ability to do so with the county is what we want to take on.
So did we vet any other vendors that provide the same type of service?
So yes, we received some, well, there are not many vendors that provide the same service, and so this is the recommended vendor. But yes, this process and this vendor or vendors of its like were vetted, and then this vendor was the one that came out on top, and this is why the staff recommended this particular contract. So this isn't new. We're bringing it to you now after extensive negotiations, et cetera, but this process has been going on since before the actual budget modification request.
Okay, so when they were involved before and when we transitioned over to becoming a city, they stopped services, is that what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am.
So is that data still available?
It's not to us because it wasn't our contract. And I think that the assumption was that when we transitioned over, that data becomes ours, and it did not. And so that is part of why we did not have the capacity to carry it on. What we will do based on this contract is, regardless of how, whenever it ends, that information we would then own, which I wouldn't want to say much more than that.
During that time, the recommendation from the department that we not continue, because they thought that we could save money if they did. Okay? And the early history of this is that this used to be taken care of by Arthur Ferdinand in his department. But for whatever reason, Arthur felt that he didn't want to be bothered with it anymore. And then that's when they got companies like RDS to come in. And our existing people said there was too much money for us to be given to them, so they thought they could do it themselves, but they didn't have it. All right, Ms. Robbins.
I think this is reasonable because what you say in your fiscal or your memo is that the total contract would not exceed $59,761. If you hire a person with benefits, you're going to spend over that. And then one of the things that we kind of heard on the mayor's walk is that our business community very much wants us to be communicating. So is there a way, as this information is being gathered by RDS, that we get the contact emails for our businesses as a part of that process? And you already answered my question about us owning the data at the end of this process.
And yes, ma'am, that data will be included. And
Okay.
Yes, sure, actually, yes.
Well, then I'd like to make a motion to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with RDS to collect outstanding business license.
Second. Been properly moved and second. Any further discussion? I'm sorry, Ms. Willis. Go ahead, Ms. Willis.
So just to understand this, we are contracting them to collect business license and alcohol taxes and for compliance. And so prior to us contracting them, how was this being collected?
We are collecting it through staff, and I say our staff is doing a pretty solid job, but I think we need some additional capacity.
Okay, and so do you think we had missed revenue opportunities? I guess my question is, what was, talking to city manager, I guess my question is, what lack of infrastructure do we not have that will prevent us from doing this?
So I would just say that this is this company's specialty in the same way with GMA, with the insurance revenues. It is really what they do. Our staff, while talented and hardworking, their focus, as you saw on the mayor's walk, is building those relationships, making sure that folks are aware, coordinating, the small pockets of information, sometimes citations and things of that nature. Whereas this group is actually issuing and collecting on our behalf in a, almost like an oversight capacity, similar to what the mayor described with Arthur Ferdinand's office in the past.
Okay, thanks. So how many people will we have? We have how many head count now doing business license and alcohol?
Three.
And we will still need that same head count as a liaison between RDS?
I would say currently we have no plan to make any adjustments.
Okay, thank you.
And the reason why too, Councilman Willis, they do go out and personally, they're not gonna go to make sure things happen.
So that'll feel right.
That'll feel right, that'll be like feel right. Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Mr. Manager, that was a question concerning the name.
Is it RDS or is it?
Well, so it's RDS, but their name is Avenue Riverside.
Okay.
And I think Councilwoman Gunn was saying that it was not a part of the document, the name.
No, the name is there. She mentioned RDS, but I didn't.
Oh, I see it, okay, I got you.
So I don't know if she needs to say that. Yes. What?
Avenue Administration, is that RDS?
It is.
Okay, that's.
But I think we're referring to them by their legal name for this agreement.
Right.
Okay, so, and your motion?
I'm a bad.
All right, maybe.
I'd like to amend my motion to reflect that we are authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Avenue Insights and Analytics to process the business license administration alcohol tax compliance documents on behalf of the city of South Fulton.
Second.
Properly second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? That passes unanimously. Mr. Clerk, let's go.
Next item is the city manager's
All right,
report.
Mr. Manager.
This will not be long, but it will be detailed.
Mr. City Manager.
Georgia Brown.
It's a part of it. And so just as a reminder to council, remember that the city manager's report is monthly so that we have enough time to collect data. But in the interim, I'll provide you an update on pertinent activities and respond to your request. So today, just very quickly, we will go over the City of South Fulton Emergency Management Task Force. I will present the public safety plan as a response to the mayor's charge. I'll mention that's also coming a full 2 weeks early. In addition to that, the budget calendar as requested by council, named Councilmember Khalid, as well as the proposed comprehensive plan dates as requested by council, and the piece that we added to the agenda, the Georgia Power franchise agreement. And so, as requested by the mayor in response to, both citizens and the request of council, we have put together the City of South Fulton Emergency Management Task Force. It's created to respond to the significant weather events within city limits, specifically the tornado that impacted Chestnut Ridge. But I think after coordinating with staff, what I've decided is we want to expand it to make sure we can address any natural disaster that impacts our city. And so the purpose is to provide support to families and individuals impacted by these significant events and to connect them with the necessary resources. And so I think one thing people have asked is, what did the city do to support the residents of Chestnut Ridge and those impacted by the May 19th tornado. And so I provided a brief summary, which I'll go through quickly because I know that you are aware. But in addition, in your packets, so that they will be provided as a part of the record, we've included the memo that was provided on the 20th, as well as the Fulton County Emergency Management overall response, highlighting the extent of the damage and including some information about the levels of support that the county and state can or cannot give. And so the attached memo gives the initial details from the first response. What we did 2 days later with the support of the full council, as well as some key sponsors and some non-traditional sponsors, including the South Fulton Chamber of Commerce, Aerotropolis, Home Depot, Fulton County, and ourselves, we put together a tornado response activity 2 days after the event happened. What we did is provide not only cleanup, but meals, brought a variety of different resources, including the American Red Cross, but not excluding others like Chick-fil-A and other support groups and charities. After the event, there were 11 homeowners who expressed a variety of needs, and I've included a summary of those that go from everything from cleaning products to clothing to non-perishable food items, car safety restraints, temporary lodging, and even kitchen utensils. And so we provided all of those items, by the way, in real time. In addition to that, just highlighting some of the sponsors, I think I mentioned all of them before, but we had a total of 200 people, citizens and non-citizens of the city of South Fulton, who came to assist in this cleanup. And so while, there's not just a pat on the back or anything like that, I do think that that is a quality response. And I think another thing that it helped to do was relieve some of our residents of some of the costs. Because remember, insurance companies, depending on your level of insurance, provide compensation for you to be able to clean up. And so our hope in providing that cleanup was to allow them to keep some of those funds in their pocket if they so chose to. On March 27th, all transportation-related systems were restored except for 4 signs, which were restored within 3 business days. So all of the signage and the pathways were clear by the 27th. What we noticed, and this is just a brief report, of course it was already in the report that I provided to you guys on the 20th, but there were trees that had fallen at all of those locations listed from Rivertown Road to Wilson Road, and all of those were clear, and traffic signal operations were restored throughout South Fulton as the power was restored. There was also traffic control provided by the power companies, by the county, so that our partners at the utilities could remove and replace power lines as necessary to get power back in and stable. In addition to that, on April 18th, we held a Chestnut Ridge community meeting that was led and hosted by Council Member Gilliard, Pastor Henry, and myself, and it was attended also by Council Members Khalid and Council Member Baker, as well as State Representative Derek Jackson. And it took place at Pastor Henry's Church, Kingdom of God Evangelistic Outreach Ministry. Meeting participants represented a variety of agencies. We pulled together just about anybody who was interested in coming. And so not only was the city there, we also had the Office of Insurance and Safety Fire Commissioner, and Safety Fire Commissioner was there. The Kingdom of God Evangelistic Outreach Ministry, American Red Cross, Fulton County Human Services, the Chestnut Ridge Community HOA, who had actually just had their elections the day before. And I think I pointed out, we did not realize that there was a transition in leadership where I think the continued communication had been going on with somebody that is no longer in leadership. In addition to that, we also had Catholic charities also attended. And so we provided a variety of resources. So everything from disaster recovery information, FEMA was on site providing some of the insights and dispelling some of the rumors, also providing insights on how to recover from a disaster, the public assistance fact sheet that had some of those answers that people have been looking for. We also provided some information to make sure our residents were not preyed on by white collar criminals trying to take advantage of their insurance position. And so we've also included this disaster history summary handout, which will be included with the record. Just to answer the request of Councilmember Gary at our last meeting, we want to provide what those limits are. So the threshold limits for public assistance programs for Fulton County and the state of Georgia are up on the screen. Specifically, just in Fulton County, the threshold is $3.8 million. Remember that these thresholds impact people who do not have insurance, and that is where our hands have been limited with the county, the state, and the federal government, because our residents in their wisdom had insurance. And so these public assistance programs are really focused on those who do not have insurance, and that is where the issues that we faced have been. What we still have done, in spite of that, we partnered with as many people as we could, so we're highlighting what we did with Catholic Charities, which is still ongoing. So I want to make sure we highlight that. I know we mentioned it to the residents impacted at the last meeting, but it's very important that we mention it because this is an ongoing support. We coordinated a relationship where folks were able to apply for some temporary cash supports when they had damage to their homes, whether they had insurance or not. And so while Catholic Charities is coordinating this process, I want to make sure it's clear that the city brought this resource to the table. And so we received 34 applications from Chestnut Ridge residents, and there are 34 gift cards that will be distributed by June 18th for $500 support. And so these residents will be notified directly by Catholic Charities and told how to receive their additional cash support in addition to the other activities that we brought to the table. And so in response to the mayor's charge, we today are officially putting together our City of South Fulton Emergency Management Task Force. This task force is chaired by Representative Derek Jackson and co-chaired by Interim Director Shayla Reed. Members include Matthew Calamer from the Atlanta Fulton County Emergency Management Agency, Brandion Taylor, our risk manager, to assist us to coordinate any type of insurance-related activities. Ms. Kathleen Vaughn, who was our grants administrator and who was researching a variety of grant-related activities and support for support of Chestnut Ridge, as well as the city moving forward. Mr. Storm Mitchell, a concerned citizen with engineering expertise, as well as Pastor Warren Henry, who has assisted us throughout the process. We do want to expand the membership of the task force, and so Mayor William Bill Edwards and or Representative Jackson have the ability, in concert with Ms. Reed, to appoint 4 additional members to the task force. We will develop some requirements of what those appointees would have to be, meaning they would need to come to the business community, come from the business community with the ability to provide resources and sponsorship, a public assistance agency that is interested in helping us build our capacity, and so on and so forth. But the catch is that the administrative team has to coordinate these recommendations. And so anyone that is interested and or has inquiries would send their inquiries or requests to planning@cityofsouthfultonga.gov. Now, as I mentioned, this is not just for Chestnut Ridge, although it is our initial focus. And so that's very important to know. The task force has 5 key goals. The first is to formalize a relationship with the individuals and families who were impacted by this tornado. The second is to evaluate the needs of those impacted. The third is to continue to connect resources to them. The fourth is to identify a sustainable emergency management response vehicle for the city of South Fulton, meaning whether it be money or a process or whatever it is that we can implement within the FY19 budget, so that if another emergency response occurs, we are better available to respond. And then finally, we want them to provide a public recommendation prior to the FY19 budget transmittal to council. And just the final thing, Mayor, that our next steps are to mobilize the task force so that they reach out and connect with Chestnut Ridge, add these 4 potential members, meet internally, and then reach out to the primary point of contact for the Chestnut Ridge community.
Let me just say this. I want to say, add a couple of things to what you're saying.
Yes, sir.
But yes, and make a statement. Because Councilwoman Rao gave me a few other people that were not said here.
Okay.
Like a United Way for South.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Mental health services, trauma care. Exactly. 5 personnel, like Zaxby, 5 personnel responsible for emergency management. But also, you have to highlight the cities.
True.
Fairburn came in a big way.
They really did.
All right. Union City came.
Absolutely.
All right. So you have to highlight the fact that those guys did come. And the statement I want to make is this. Last meeting, Ms. Gilliard, when residents came up, I felt some kind of way. Because, you know, they made us feel like we didn't do nothing. And I knew, and you know, everything that we have done, we have did a phenomenal job. You know, out there, and even our employees. I was there. Ms. Jackson was there. That's right. You know, Miss Catherine was there. Helen was there. And I mean, we weren't there just looking. Khalid was there. And yeah, I was there. We weren't there just looking. We were picking up stuff and trying to help people. So I felt some kind of way when someone comes in and says the things that they said, when I know, and you list all these, this is a phenomenal job by this city. Exactly. A phenomenal, and the bad thing about it is that it continues to go on. We're not even finished. So I just want to say that, man. I didn't say that the night they came up here. Maybe I should have. But it was just not serving to us to paint us in that picture.
Well, Mayor, I would say, and I apologize, United Way, Catholic Charities is coordinated through United Way, so and definitely missed out. I tell you, I was trying to shorten the presentation because there are even more people that we should mention. Some of that is included in the attachments as well, so but not as much to other cities as we should have. I'd also say I think as staff is excited to be a part of this. I think we're thankful for the council and our mayor for challenging us with this, because although we feel like we've done a really good job, I think we all know that, you know, a lot of these folks are still going through these things every day, and we just want to make sure that we're able to support them throughout the process and anybody else who will be impacted in the future.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Rod, you want to close?
Quick comment. I know when we passed our fire ordinance, we had a person designated for emergency management coordination, and I think that person definitely needs to be on our task force. One thing I was excited that was in our fire, so that when these things, we have a go-to person and they're constantly thinking about how we as a city can respond to emergencies. And so I don't think the fire department has identified that person yet, but I do think we need to move in that direction, and so that we can start putting our own plans in place as a city.
Go right ahead.
I just wanted to know why did you select the chair for the person that you selected to chair the committee?
Well, what I thought was that in lieu of having a council person on our staff to do it, third-party person who expressed a strong interest and has been involved since the beginning and paired with our administrative staff, no issue with that.
Mr. Clerk, where is this? Madam Clerk?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, you got the public safety.
Yeah, I just stop to answer
All right,
all
go
of the
ahead.
questions.
Go ahead.
So in response to the mayor's public safety request, he asked that to present a public safety plan from the administration and what we would do to not only attack crime instances that have occurred, but also the perception of crime that is occurring. We have developed 5 steps to a world-class public safety system in the city of South Fulton. And those 5 key areas are: 1, to complete and hire a permanent police chief, making a recommendation to council on that person by July 4th, 2018, on or before. And so the expectation is to present that recommendation to council prior to that date. Second is to invest heavily in public safety in the FY19 budget. Third is to increase the public safety presence citywide and reduce response time. So currently, we would like to have a goal of an average of 10 minutes, which is fairly aggressive, and I'll explain that to you how those numbers are captured. But that would definitely be an improvement of what was provided by Fulton County and even what is provided now. Also, increase citizen engagement through targeted programs and public education, as well as increased transparency. And so just in detail, I think, the police chief, I don't have to go into great detail on that other than to say that we have been interviewing and we'll be narrowing those selections down before presenting to council. In investing heavily in public safety in FY19, while I have not presented a ton of information about the budget as of yet, I will tell you that one of the recommendations from the administration is to increase entry-level staff salaries for police to $45,000, which is one of the highest and most competitive in the state of Georgia. Secondly, identify and make available the appropriate incentives and allowances, which may include what we already have, which is the housing allowance or a take-home car program for leaders. I believe that will allow us to attract lateral transfers for leaders and post-certified police. In addition, we want to ensure that training and professional development is available and accessible to both management and line staff. I think when we talked about the issues around implementing everything from ordinances and other activities, that will allow us to make sure that the law is enforced in the manner intended by our council, and then we want to specifically coordinate that level of training. Increasing public safety presence citywide and reduce response time. Excited to kind of announce that we are very close to finalizing a mutual aid agreement on fire, which should increase or decrease our response times on that part of public safety. And we will also be creating many precincts and public safety hubs so that we have a deeper presence of our police throughout the city. Thanks to our mayor and some of our council members and some of our public citizens, we will actually be able to launch in the very near future, meaning the next 45 days or less, 3 mini public precincts. One in District 1, which I think you guys asked about regarding the fire station on Cascade, where we will have a police presence there. Secondly, in District 3, now that we have acquired the park's headquarters and have some additional space, we will be leveraging that space to also have a police presence in the same space where we have the park's headquarters and the ability to house vehicles. And then fourth, a privately owned mini precinct in District 4.
Let me add something to that too, because Councilwoman Gum asked me something. These 3 are cost effective.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's why, we went ahead
and I can go back to that.
Yeah.
So all of them will be cost effective, and they will be spread out densely throughout the districts and the city as a whole. But there is virtually actually no additional cost to any of these. So one, I think, cost us $1 a year. The Cascade precinct we're already paying for, and the same with the park's headquarters after making some personnel adjustments, which will come later. The next, when we talk about increasing citizen engagement, definitely dedicated and committed to launching a variety of initiatives. I think I highlighted National Night Out, but also others, including hosting the Citizens Academy, which I think I've heard multiple council members talk about, and we'll be launching a South Fulton 101, where on Saturdays, our department heads will be providing open houses and informational information on the departments to our citizens, and we're going to start with public safety. And so those are FY19 initiatives, while South Fulton 101, we're looking to figure out how to launch in FY18. And the final piece on increasing transparency, some of which of course you'll see with the website, but in addition to some things that we're plugging in there, we want to publicly release crime stats monthly. And so we're working on attaining the appropriate technology to be able to do that, as well as developing and producing the first, although it will be a shorter version since we started in March, a South Fulton Police Department annual report. And so with that, I'll entertain questions on that section.
South Fulton 101, I love that. That's awesome. My first suggestion about public safety is I would like to see, I'm saying it publicly so that we can hopefully discuss it as a council. I would like to see, and it's not really a council decision, I guess it's really more of a police chief's decision, but I would like to see us require a college degree for that salary. There is a plethora of research that states that police officers with college degrees have less complaints, not only for use of force, but also, what do I want to say, customer service. They just tend to be better at it. There's something about college, having a 4-year degree in the life skills that you learn in college. And to that end, I would also like to see us at some point put together a police accountability board. I don't think that we've had any horrible incidents of abuse, although I have, it has been reported to me on a few occasions, just some customer service issues. And before anything does happen, I would just like to have that in place. I also want to applaud you on the idea of the take-home cars. I do hope that in this budget that there is, in the F-19 budget, that there is money for a District 6 or 7 police precinct for that end of Old National. And I'm sure that our former commissioner can agree with me that I need that precinct to be open 24 hours, or at the very least from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. and to have someone that can specifically during those hours of early morning and late night when people are either before work or after work, where they can get police reports. Right now, when something happens, if my house is broken into, I have to, between 9 and 5, drive to the other side of this city to 5440 just to get a police report. I'm sorry, not 5440. That's it. Thank you.
Mr. Lee, you're saying everything we want to do. Put those kinds of services in the precincts. We talked about that. But Mr. Donald, one thing I want to say, even on the walk that we did, and we were anticipating a whole lot, you and Dr. Lee, and we anticipated a whole lot of stuff about crime. But you know what? It was visibility. They was asking more about visibility than more so than anything. They want to see the police officers, drive through the parking lots and stop and get out the cars and talk and go through the neighborhoods and as people are cutting the grass, just stop and say how you doing and what my name is. And so I would say that for me, that's why I like the idea we started about the precincts, Mr. Lee, because it puts that kind of presence in every district, and our goal was to have a precinct in every district. That's the goal.
That's good.
But it's what do you think? But
and a trail.
it's a money situation. like I said, these don't hardly cost, this didn't cost us hardly nothing. So we're looking at other ways to get other precincts over. Okay, you want to say something? I'm sorry, shoot you next.
Mr. City Manager, I would love to leave a lot of the vision for where our police department is going to go up to the permanent police chief whenever that person is brought in July. And I just think it's totally unrealistic to try to make it a mandate for someone to make $45,000 a year and require them to have a college degree, especially in a climate where we are training, people are going to trade school and getting a trade and starting out with more than $45,000 a year. It's just not realistic to think that in the climate and law enforcement, somebody's going to go to school, get a college degree, and come out and make $45,000 a year. Not a law enforcement, because you have a lot of agencies that will start you off more than that, and you don't have to have a college degree. So I would love to see, thank you for considering District 3 for a precinct. Precinct that is a welcome addition.
All districts.
Yes, this is a welcome addition to District 3. I really appreciate it. And I'm just awaiting that permanent police chief because I would love to hear the vision of where that person would like to go for the city as it relates to law enforcement.
Okay. Anything further?
No, I mean, we've got a couple of items, but if we can move forward from this.
Yes.
Let's
get the floor.
Just very quickly, the budget calendar, there was a request of what is the budget calendar for the transmittal. And so just high level, of course, there are a variety of activities that are taking place right now. But as of that, I heard someone talk about the open budget process. And so that is exactly what we're conducting as well. Although we don't have that technology, we're actually doing the same thing with using the New Orleans budget game, the district budget game, and what other cities have done, where they'll get the amount in the budget and be able to make those decisions in real time. We'll be coordinating at least 3 of these open budget activities in between June 15th and July 19th. And so staff is diligently working to coordinate those. They will take those considerations along with the staff considerations and present the transmittal of the proposed budget on July 24th. Update the budget for mayor and council based on initial revisions in August. Work with, also at June 24th, work with the city attorney related to the preparation of the draft budget ordinance. And then there are other procedural activities that must take place. But the first reading must take place on, not must take place, there must be a first reading that we have tentatively scheduled for August, with a second reading in September, with the final adoption at that second reading.
Okay. Go ahead, Ms. Miller.
Where was our strategic session in all of this? Because I remember we did one last year, and that was important for us to do it so we could include it in the budget planning process.
The expectation is to have that prior to July 24th. We've actually been, I don't know if you used Carl Vincent last year, but I know we've been talking to, I don't want to mention his name, but we've been talking to Carl Vincent. We had it where we were going to attempt to schedule it at the very beginning of this month, but they had an issue with, there's an issue with the process. Let me just say, yeah. And so we're coordinating with them now to make sure that gets done. But it will happen before the transmittal, probably simultaneous in between that June 15th to July 19th. The facilitator is currently not available, so we just got to make some adjustments, and then we'll poll council for that.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for that report. The attorney told me that she didn't.
Those dates that you guys asked for, the comprehensive plan dates, they're included in your package, but while the director is currently working to beat the deadline to meet with all council members, the individual council member dates are from the 18th through the 29th. So to answer your question, Councilmember Khalid, yes, this month it will happen, but I think she's trying to schedule y'all's before that date. There are a couple of people who asked, but the time frame would run from June 5th when you receive the current comprehensive plan through August 28th.
Okay.
So that is within your 90 days. And
Talking about the Georgia Power franchise.
the final thing is the Georgia Power franchise agreement. I think you guys have a copy. I know we forwarded most of it earlier today. The number of addresses that are affected is a little bit higher than you thought, which is good, approximately about 20,000. This agreement and resolution, which was finalized today by our city attorney and Georgia Power, which I've never seen lawyers move that quickly, so that was real good. It allows us to collect this revenue in FY18, but if we do not collect the revenue, it'll be lost. We actually only have one business day to be able to meet that deadline, which is why we are asking for swift approval of the agreement.
Ms. Rao.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the franchise agreement with Georgia Power as presented.
Second. Properly moved and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all let's vote. That passes unanimously. Okay, I'm gonna start for this way for 2 minutes. If y'all- You have anything?
Yes. Just thanking everybody for coming out, and I want to thank my colleagues for voting to, help District 5 try to see which way we want to go with this zoning piece. Also, we are having on June 22nd, evening with Councilwoman Jackson, and we want to invite everybody out. It will start at 6 o'clock. We'll have fun, games, and we're doing fish fry. We're doing the whole 9. Playing bid whist, pinochle. We're just trying to get the community engaged and find out what you want to see at your park and in your community. And also, I think it's, when is your walk? July 27th.
July 27th.
26th, June 26th.
June 26th. After the mayor's walk, then we're gonna go into 3 Lakes. We're taking it to the street, and we're inviting, we're going knocking on the doors, just asking people if they want fire extinguishers, those type of, not fire extinguishers, what do you call those things? The alarms, just going into the neighborhood, letting them know the different things that our community offer and what the city has, different counseling, whatever, the needs of a community is. I'm through.
Thank you for engaging and coming out. On June 20th, District 62, City of South Fulton, House Representative William Bodie is having an economic development legislative town hall meeting. It will be at Wolf Creek Library from 6 until 8. Our city manager will be included in the panel, and also Commissioner Arrington and Kimberly Dove, and also my colleague in District 2. Also, there will be a tax assessor workshop that's being hosted by Commissioner Arrington and myself, and the tax appraiser will be present at Welcome All Park, June 27, 2018, from 6 to 8 p.m. Please bring your supporting documentation, your current tax assessment notice, any photos of your property, recent appraisals, or any comparative sales. There will be staff to help you file an appeal on the spot. The deadline to file an appeal is July 6th for your property tax assessment. So please make sure you come to Welcome All Park to get it. That will be a workshop session. And that is on June 27th, 2018, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Also, lastly, there will be a Wakanda in a Park event where we will have a screen on the green of the Black Panther movie. I urge you to go ahead and RSVP because we already had 200 people to RSVP at this time, and so we may have to provide tickets and to limit the head count, and I am doing that in collaboration with my colleagues in District 1, 2, and Commissioner Arrington as well. We got sponsors, so make sure that you come out. And we will have Kona ice drinks, popcorn, free. So make sure you RSVP because we may have to provide tickets. Thank you.
Couple quick updates. On June 21st, we're having our coffee and a conversation with the COP and our current interim police chief, Sheila Rogers, at Decision Point Ministries at 8:30 a.m. In addition, on the 19th, in partnership with Councilwoman Guns, we'll have the tax assessor coming out to assist with the same appeals that were mentioned. As previously noted, the deadline is July 6th, so we want to make sure residents are aware of it and take advantage of that. And I want to say, I had the fortunate opportunity to partner with Roger Bruce on installing a community garden at QLS this past week, and I want to congratulate the mayor on a job well done and the staff on the community walk. We got lots of positive feedback from the businesses, and so I want to encourage the council to continue to come out for those and hear from our stakeholders and residents.
So again, thank you all for hanging in there with us this evening. So I'll try to be quick. Of course, all of my colleagues have mentioned some things that we're doing in the community. Also on June 23rd, there will be a financial literacy workshop that we will be hosting at the Cliftondale Community Center at 1 p.m. So I do encourage you to also come out. I want to congratulate a young lady who is a 2018 Westlake graduate, and her name is Victoria Lamar. She has raised over $1.7 million in scholarships, and she's going to the University of San Francisco. I think it's absolutely amazing for just one youth to raise that much money, and she's actually coming back to teach other students how to raise the same kind of money so they can go to college for free. So there is a workshop that she will be hosting as well at Westlake on June 30th. So I do encourage you all to come out and attend that and support this young lady. Again, we want to let our students know that they can't go to school for free, so the money's out there. Also, June is Brain Awareness Month, brain fitness, so you need to do all your puzzles, keep your brain fit and active. I do encourage people to do that. And also, it's Men's Health Month. So make sure all of you men go and get your checkups. That's very important. You can always find out what I'm up to and what's going on in District 2. You can follow me on Facebook, or you can text D2 News to 22828. And that's it.
Ms. Gilliard.
Thanks everyone for hanging in for such a long time. On last Thursday night, we had my first town hall meeting in this setting, and our city manager was kind enough to come and share a lot of information about economic development and his vision for our city. We have an environmental scientist who shared a lot about public health and a lot about pollution and various issues with some of the development that we really would not like to have so close to residential. And the Arrow Council came out and talked a lot about their youth program and brought some of the kids from the program. So all of that was really, really great. That was the first one. We plan to have another HOA meeting, a coalition of HOAs, the rest of the HOAs that did not meet with us in February, because many HOAs have similar problems, and if they can come together and just, educate each other and just be supportive of each other, that would really, really be helpful. The next month, we're planning a big event that I'm not going to talk about yet, so just look forward for it to come for July. Thank you.
Mr. Khalid.
Well, first of all, Councilwoman Jackson, what you know about pinochle?
That's a grown. She invented peanut. She invented peanut.
But seriously, Sunday is Father's Day, so I want to say to Mayor Edwards, our Mayor Pro Tem, Babe Luke could be here tonight, and all of the men in South Fulton, to Mr. City Manager, happy Father's Day. Thank you for all you do. Everybody's talking about economic development. We are going to be talking about it on a national, so everyone mark your calendars, please, for Saturday, July 14th. It's going to be a big economic development summit is all I'll say about it now, but our mayor and our city manager will be there. By then we'll have our comp plan edits in, so that'll be a piece of it. We're inviting all the residents of Go National to come out and take a look at our suggestions for the comprehensive plan as a part of economic development. As always, you can find all this information at coveycares.com, and if you're not signed up for the newsletter, since it is not midnight yet, I will stay for as long as people want to talk, and I can gather your emails. Thank you so much.
Good. This part of the meeting always reminds me of the Georgia gang. But first of all, I want to thank one of our council people, and that's Councilwoman Rouse. She didn't know I was going to say this, but she provided breakfast for the courts this morning. And I ate too, I want you to know that. She provided the breakfast for all our courts because they had a busy day with 300 and some people, in the courts today. And let me also thank all of my colleagues who came out and walked with me on last Wednesday,
It was Wednesday.
All right, whatever. Let me thank you all for coming, whatever day it was, coming out and participating in the mayor's walk and listening to people and see what their interests are. And Mr. Manager, we'll be going to be late to see what we come up with and how we're going to address some of the issues that we found. And we put a date for that. If you remember, Mr. Councilman, we put a date on when we're supposed to have that back to them. And lastly, I just want to say too, Happy Father's Day to everybody. And at this time, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn. Second.
Properly moved and second. Let's get out of here.
You gotta vote. You gotta vote.
So you know what?
Y'all out there.